Cool. It looks like we've got a solid number of participants right now. It is 5 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. First off, thanks everybody for joining tonight. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing, but I'm really happy that you're here. I think we've got an awesome topic tonight, something that's been heavily requested. Someone asked if this will be recorded. Yes, it will be recorded. Happy to send it to everybody on this as well. So the topic tonight is the new patient buying cycle, how new patients choose a dentist. So the new patient buying cycle is essentially what is that journey that a new patient goes through when they're looking for a new dentist. It's is pretty typical for every single new patient. It's not going to be the exact same process every time, but it's going to be very similar. And so there's typically three major steps, and we're going to get a lot into that. And the key here is that if once you know how new patients are choosing a dentist, once you understand the process, you can take steps to show up at each step of the way and give them what they need to advance to the next step. Ultimately, which means you're more knowledgeable about how to attract new patients and get them to overcome things like time, distance, and money in order to choose you versus somebody down the street. So that's what our main topic is today. We're going to go really deep into each of these components and look at what those look like. Like I said, there's a Q&A box. Feel free to ask questions at any point. I've got it open here, and I'll jump in and answer those questions for you. So as we get started, I would love to hear from you guys. What is your biggest struggle as you try to attract new patients right now? We're going to address a lot of things, but I'd be happy to tailor this if there's some very specific things you guys are seeing. In that Q&A box, feel free to pop that open and just let me know, what is your biggest struggle right now? What is something that is a challenge for you as you're trying to attract new patients? Some of the things I hear all the time are spending a lot of money on marketing and it just doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. I've got lots of corporate practices near me, somebody said, which is definitely a challenge, as they're going to be able to they have a lot of resources. There's a lot of things they can do to kind of steal patients away from these smaller solo practice owners. So a lot of good stuff here. But no matter what the struggle is, there's a lot of things we can do to combat that. Whoever said corporate practices, these larger guys, they've got the know-how and they've got the resources, but it's not like you guys can't do that too. And so we're going to run into that today. I've got somebody else said, don't have time to spend on marketing like online ads. Yeah, I get it. Time can be definitely a large factor, but sometimes partnering with people is a good way to go. So there's a lot of good stuff here, but let's go ahead and dive into it. So the reason we're here today is to look at what are these top 3 methods for attracting new patients that are working right now. We want to keep it really simple when it comes to spending on online ads. You want to make sure that your marketing dollars are going towards the right places, because there's a lot of different options out. There's a lot of different places to advertise, but what are the actual best places? Where are new patients looking right now? So we're going to dive into the top 3 methods for attracting new patients to make sure that if you are putting your time and energy or your marketing dollars towards a specific strategy, that's actually going to work. And so we're going to show you guys that today. A big component of this webinar is looking at, okay, how many patients did you see last month? How many patients do you want in 6 months? And how are we going to get there? The space in between is what we call the new patient gap. And we exist at Fire Gang to help you bridge this gap, because if you're at, maybe 10, 15 patients a month right now, and you really just need to see yourself at 30 to 35, well, what's going to bridge that gap for you? How are you going to get there? The strategies you talk about today are going to help you bridge that gap. Some other things, I'm curious, guys, if any of this sounds like you. These are some of the major things that I hear from dentists who are trying to fill that new patient gap, trying to bridge that gap, but just can't do it. I hear this all the time. I'm spending a ton of money on marketing and getting nothing out of it. This one I got this morning. Everybody talks about Google AdWords, but Google AdWords just doesn't work for me. I've been burned by several marketing companies, and I don't know who to trust now. Or I get this one a lot too, is I like my website. I think my website's great. I spend a lot of money on my website, but our new patient numbers are down. So if this is something that you feel is applicable to you, if any of these are applicable to you, we're going to address all of these today to help you understand how to alleviate these issues, how to stop wasting money on marketing, how to make Google AdWords actually work, how to stop getting burned by marketing companies, and understanding, what actually is going to help make your website great. So we're going to cover all that. Again, the 3-part journey that every patient goes through before choosing a dentist is the new patient buying cycle. We're going to dive into that. The top 2 places new patients are looking for a dentist and how to show up there. And then what every patient needs to see on your website before they will decide to call your practice. And this is so big, because this is one of the biggest mistakes I see dentists make is not really understanding what needs to be on a website, and they start driving all this traffic there, and it's just not coming to turning a new patient. So we're going to dive pretty deep into that as well. Ultimately, my goal is that you're going to leave with some idea of how to increase your new patient flow without sacrificing margins or quality of care. Because sure, you could slash your prices in half and get more patients, but that doesn't solve the problem. That creates more problems than it solves. And also, we want to make sure that we're able to provide the best quality of care possible, and that quality requires a certain level of investment from patients. So we're going to look at how you increase your new patient flow, keeping those margins where you want them to be, keeping your quality where you feel it needs to be, and basically getting new patients to pay for that. So when you get this right, what does it look like? I just want to share a few quick examples here. This is Dr. O with Fayetteville Family Cosmetic Dentistry, and since partnering with us, since using our strategies that we're going to talk about today, he's more than doubled his new patients. So you can see 2016 towards the end is when he came on board with us, and just had some stellar year-over-year growth from 2017 onto 2018. This is another practice, Riggs Family Dental. And I love this quote. It said, "You Fire Gang know the psychology behind what dental patients are looking for, what ad language works, what doesn't work, tried and true methods for working with dentists across the country." And that's absolutely what I want to emphasize here, is that these strategies we're going to talk about, this new patient buying cycle, this is, once you really understand this and once you can start applying this, these are the results you're going to see. And their year-over-year data from 2016 to 2017 went from 25 new patients per month to 50 new patients per month. William Ma, I just want to highlight this Google review. You can just see it by Googling Fire Gang. Said he's very skeptical about marketing until Fire Gang, but we made a believer out of him. And so he highly recommends us. And then we have Dr. G here in the bottom, sent an email to one of our client success managers and said, "My team members have commented on how often the phones are ringing, which is music to our ears." So like I said, when you get this right, it really makes a huge difference within the practice. But before we get to that, I just want to talk about who are we and who's talking here. First off, who's Fire Gang? We're Google certified partners. We're nationally recognized publishers. We've been featured on places like NBC, local news stations, content coverage in a lot of major media outlets. We've been involved in the dental space a whole lot for the last 10 years, being featured on Dental Town. Dr. Bicuspid, you might have seen us on some podcasts in different places. We were on the our CEO, Adozoko, was on the podcast with Howard Ferran, just sharing some of our awesome strategies with him and any of the dentists that were tuning in. Maybe you saw that. If you didn't, feel free to check that out. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of great information there as well. So like I said, my goal here, though, is to help educate, empower you guys. I just want you to copy these strategies, implement them, and really it'll give you a much better chance and give you a clear direction towards attracting new patients. What I'm going to give, it's not going to be applicable to every single dentistry in a very specific manner, in the sense that you might have a specific situation that you need some help with. So sometimes I get to the end of these webinars and people want a more personalized recommendation on how they should approach this, how they should take this new patient buying cycle and apply it to their practice. I'm happy to do that for you guys. I'll show you at the end. So you don't have to, reach out for a personalized recommendation, but people always do want that. So I'll show you how to get that at the end. Just stick around. Who am I? I'm the marketing manager here at Fire Gang. You've probably seen some of my emails come through. You can always reach me at marketing@firegang.com. Shoot me an email if you have any further questions. I've helped drive many dental marketing campaigns. I spent millions of dollars driving new patient acquisition. I've identified what works, what doesn't work, and I've helped dentists generate thousands of leads. And so a lot of what I'm speaking here is based on what's actually working. These aren't theories. These aren't necessarily new ideas. These are tried and true methods that have worked for hundreds of dental practices. And we want to show you what works so you can take a proven methodology and a proven model and apply it to your practice. It's not about the new shiny objects. It's about taking it and keeping it simple and applying what's actually working today for practices all across the nation. So I want to start by looking at some of the trends in the dental marketing industry. And what we're seeing is that competition for patients is the highest it's ever been. I mean, if this, feel free to, drop a line in the Q&A box if this is something that you've experienced as well. You just feel like competition is getting crazy. But we're seeing this more and more and more. And there's a couple of reasons for it. I'm sure you've experienced some of them. Just some of the ones that we were able to pull and that we've noticed significantly is, first off, there's more dentists coming into the space, graduating at an accelerating rate. The job outlook for the next 10 years is at 19% growth in the number of dentists entering the workforce. And a lot of these guys are interested in starting their own practices. So you've got more competition there. The other thing is that a lot of dentists are retiring later and later than they used to be. So not only do you have more dentists coming in, graduating from school, wanting to open their practice, but a lot of these dentists are just not retiring at the rate that they were. So you've got more guys coming in on the front end, and you've got less guys leaving on the back end. So in addition to this, you've got insurance problems. Today's insurance is not like it once was, and I hear this over and over again as I talk to dentists. I talk to at least 15, 20 dentists a week, and they keep saying is, we barely break even on insurance. It's almost not worth it in some cases. And it's just becoming a challenge. So we end up in this situation where, there's corporates, group practices, lots of resources, retiring later, more dentists graduating, insurance changes. Ultimately, the consumer has all the power because, right, if I pick up my phone and I Google for dentists near me, I'm seeing, maybe 5, 10 dentists in a 5-mile radius, maybe even more. And so I can shop around and I can go to all these different places. So I've got all the power to choose who I want to go to. So what does this lead to? It leads to a big bowl of rice. No. So essentially what this means is what we're seeing is dentistry is being viewed as a commodity sometimes. And so consumers are looking at this and they're saying, okay, I've got 5 dentists around me and they all seem to be saying the same thing because I don't really know the differences between dentistry. So all 5 of them say they can give me implants. Well, I might as well just choose the guy with the cheapest price because, well, it's all the same, right? We know it's not the same. You guys know it's not the same. And maybe you even know that there's a guy down the street a mile from you and you just feel like he's not doing a good job. But to the consumer, they're not really realizing this. So a big key is, well, how do we make sure that our practice is not the one that's viewed as a commodity? How do we stand out? How do we show that we're different and that our quality of care is actually as good as we say it is and we can charge the price that we need? Because if you don't, you might be experiencing this right now where it's harder to get those big cases because they're just price shoppers. They're dealing more insurance stuff, working harder, spinning the wheels. You're feeling confused, lost, unclear. You're not sure what the direction is. So I'm glad you're on this webinar because we're going to give you some of that direction. But ultimately, we need to focus on how do we close that new patient gap? How do we differentiate ourselves so we can get those new patients and the ones that we actually want? So the solution here is understand the new patient buying cycle. Because like I said, if you can understand this new patient buying cycle, and you really get this in your mind about how these people are looking for a dentist, then you can give them all the right information at the right time to show them why you're different and why you're better than the competition. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to look at this from the larger view. What is the new patient buying cycle? And then we're going to start to hone in on each of these individual pieces so you guys can best understand how each of these work. So let's take it through just from left to right. So when I'm a patient and I'm looking for a new dentist, the first thing I'm going to do is search. And where am I going to go? Likely I'm going to go to Google. There might be some other place I might ask my friends. I might go to places like Yelp, different things like that to look for reviews. But ultimately I'm searching for a new dentist. And so I'm going to search engines. I'm going to look at paid ads and look at all the different places. And I'm going to try to find that dentist. Once I do find someone that I want to explore further, I'm going to their website. This is how it always works. There's a search and then they go to the website. 99% of people today are going to go to the website, even if it's a referral, even if you just tell me, that you think this dentist is the best dentist in the world and I should go to it. I'm still going to check out that website. It's great that my friend told me about you, but I'm still going to check your website out. We see this time and time again. So we got to make sure that our website is strong enough that it's actually going to generate calls for our practice. And then, of course, the last piece here is making sure that if you are getting calls, that you're not missing those calls and you're turning those into new patients. So the initial questions we want to ask here are, if somebody is searching for me, am I listed on Google? Am I near the top? Does my website show up at the top? Do I have reviews? Are my reviews listed on Google? Can people find them on Google? Are they good reviews? Am I a 5-star dentist or am I a 1-star dentist in the eyes of Google? Do I have any special offers that are showing up in Google? Am I open right now, right? Or is Google saying, hey, I'm closed on Thursday and Friday? Because I am closed on Thursday and Friday. So everyone who needs a dentist on Thursday and Friday is going to somebody else. Do I say how I'm different? Does my my listing in Google, does my ranking in Google, what I'm actually saying in there say that I'm any different, or is it just say, hey, I'm a dentist, want to buy from me? Once I go to my website, a whole another set of battles takes place. If I am listed at the top of Google, if I have great reviews and they're seeing all this great stuff and they decide to click on my link versus somebody else's link, they're going to my website, right? And so at that point, as a consumer, do I like your website? Does it look like you're a legit business, or do you look like someone I don't want to spend any money with? Does it answer all my questions? Is there any reason that I should call you versus the guy on the street, right? Is there anything in your website that tells me why you're different? Does your website work on my phone? Is it easy to use? Is there click to call buttons? And the list goes on and on. But if I don't get all this information, if any one of these I say no to, I'm clicking the back button and I'm going to go find somebody else. The last step here, once they do like it, they're going to call your office. And so ultimately, how is that going to play out? First off, do they answer the phones? Is the front staff knowledgeable? Do they know how to say the right things to get me in the door? Or is it a situation where everything looked good until I called the office and I was put on hold for 2 minutes and I don't want to wait on hold, so I'm going to go call somebody else. All of these things matter. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look specifically at each of these components to make sure you're set up for success. So let's dive into search engines and paid ads. How do you actually do this correctly? So first off, what percent of patients go to Google when searching for a local business? I'm curious if you guys have any guesses on what this is. Feel free to enter it in the Q&A box. I'm super curious if you guys have any ideas what this might be. What percent of patients go to Google when looking for a local business? What do you guys think it is? I'm seeing here 70%, 75%, 50%. It's higher. It's actually higher. So it's 80%. Based on the research and data that we found, it's about 80%, which is a very large chunk of patients. So for the forefront of it, when you just think about it this way, if you're not showing up in Google, then you're essentially cutting out 80% of the patients that you have an opportunity to obtain, because this is where people are looking. And you can get patients in other ways. That 20% is readily available, but why cut it out that much? So we need to be on Google. So we pulled I just pulled one market to do a quick example of what this looks like, to give you guys some specific numbers. So this is Sunnyvale, California. Again, just an example. So what we did was we took some statistical information from Google searches, from Facebook information, as well as some population data, just some basic statistics to look at, based on searches in this area, based on the population, how many people statistically are going to be looking for a new dentist in this market every month online. And what we found is that if you're a practice in Sunnyvale, there's going to be just over 1,600 people looking for a new dentist there. So what this means is that there's a huge potential, huge opportunity. If you can show up in Google and be doing this correctly, you've got a lot of eyeballs. So we want to look at this from a few different perspectives. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with how Google works, but we want to break it down by specifically what you're going to show up there. So what we find is that if we take that number and we break it down further, about 400 people are going to be looking at this practice's ads section. So that's about 25%, and they're going to make their decision almost exclusively on what they see in the ads. They're not even going to go further down the page. So first off, of that 80%, 25% of them, if you're not showing up in the ads, if you're not advertising, you're completely missing that. And so it's extremely important to be there. Now, the second component here is that most of the time, this is what it looks like, especially if you're going to be looking at specific services like implants, Invisalign, anything high value. You're not going to see one ad. You're not going to see two ads. You can see up to 4 ads all in one spot. And so this gives the consumer all the choice, right? So we need to differentiate, because if I'm the consumer, I may only click on one of these and never hit the back button, So this is your opportunity to make sure that you stand out among somebody else and you're getting the click on your ad. So I want to kind of work through with you guys on what you think is good ads and bad ads. So to do this, we're going to compare commodity to the purple cow. So the commodity rice, it means it's like everybody else. There's nothing special about it. The purple cow, obviously, cows are not purple. So if you're a purple cow, you're going to stand out, and everybody's going to be putting their eyes on you, and everybody can be paying attention to you. So how do we make sure that we're the purple cow of the Google ads? So let's take a look at this first ad here. This is for Anchorage, Alaska dentist, and it says, chances are we already treat your neighbors. Give me some insight in that Q&A box of what you think. Do you think this is a great way to stand out as a purple cow, or do you think this is kind of a commodity, like people are probably not going to click on this? What do you guys think? If anybody has any thoughts on this, would love to see it. Interesting. So yeah, not really that special. Yeah, and you'd be absolutely right. So I would definitely consider this to be a commodity. And the reason why is because it gives me no information about this practice. I have no idea who this is. I don't know what they're doing. Do they already treat my neighbors? I don't know. I'm not going to ask my neighbors. So probably not going to click on this ad. I'm going to click on somebody else. We got another one here. Stress-free, full-service dentist, great for families. I see this a lot. There's a lot of practices who will run ads like this. And we run into some issues with this. It's not as strong as you might think. And we do look at this and we think, okay, this is kind of a commodity. The reason why is because anyone can say stress-free, anyone can say full-service dentist, great for families. Again, it's not that interesting. It's too easy to say, and it's more of like a way, it's kind of like what you have to say to even operate in this space. So it doesn't differentiate you. Let's look at this next one. It's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot going on here, but it says schedule your appointment today. What do you guys think? Is this a good way to stand out? Is this better than the last ones, or do you think it's no better than the last ones? If anyone has any thoughts, feel free to jump them in there. It gets my attention more. So it's absolutely true. This does get my attention more as well. So what we're seeing here is that this is still a bowl of rice, I would say, but it's not going to get somebody to click on it too much because it doesn't say enough about the practice, which is what somebody said. But it's on the right track. So we want to combine this with a few different things. So, and we're going to get to that. So the next one here, calm dental experience, appointment 7 to 8 p.m. and on Saturdays. So what we're seeing here is this is actually a little bit better. It says a calm dental experience. However, it also says appointments from 7 to 8 p.m. and on Saturdays. So if I'm somebody searching for a dentist and I can't come in on the weekdays, I see this and I know that they're open on Saturday. So all of a sudden, I'm probably going to click on this ad because I need somebody who's open on Saturdays. And if none of the other ads say anything about being open on Saturdays, except for this one, then this is the only one that's solving my problem. So I'm going to click on it. So we're getting there. I don't think this is perfect, but we're getting there. This next one, same day appointments available, flexible payment and financing. This is all getting a lot better because now I know that I can get in immediately, that there's flexible payment, there's flexible financing. I don't have to worry as much about money. So we're getting there. And then this one here, this one's pretty good. So schedule a checkup online today, get free whitening for life, complete dental care, convenient hours, accept most insurance. All of these things are great differentiators. All of these things are fantastic at getting somebody's attention and showing why you're different than somebody else. If there's another ad that just says, hey, come in, we're a dentist, and then we've got this guy who says they've got convenient hours, they accept a bunch of insurance, and I can get free whitening for life. Well, yeah, I'm going to this one because the other guy is not giving me whitening. I'm going to go to this one that is. And so it's a lot better. Then we've got this guy who's got all these extra links: new patient specialist, advanced laser dentistry, general dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, insurance and financing, video testimonials, a great way to stand out. And you can advertise that right in Google. So all of these, I would say these last couple ones are purple cows. And this is what we want to be doing with our ads. We really want to stand out. It's not enough to just put ads up because you're competing in that space just as much as you're competing anywhere else. So differentiation is going to be the way to succeed with your ads. There's a lot of great ways to do this. Obviously, this list is really, really long, but there's some ones like state emergencies. If the office is near a certain landmark is really great. If you're an experienced doctor, if you're accepting new patients, you're open weekends. All these different things are great to include. But ultimately, the best way to think about this is like, if someone says they have the world's best cup of coffee and you see that walking on the street, do you just like freak out and be like, wow, the world's best cup of coffee, I better go there right now? No, you just walk past it because you're like, yeah, I mean, maybe it's good, maybe it's not, but you're not swayed by having the world's best cup of coffee put in front of your face. So the same is true. We don't want to be saying things like best dentist. We don't want to be saying things like top dentist because it just doesn't mean anything to people. We really want to be specific about what we're differentiating ourselves with. So as we kind of continue down this, we're going to get into the map section next. This is just below the ads, and there's going to be about 900 people that look in this map section. But what's really important about this are the review practices. So 776 people are going to be really paying attention to what these reviews say. And I would argue that one practice that this practice that's highlighted has 126 5-star reviews. They're going to be way more marketable and get way more clicks than Sunnyvale Town Center Dental Group, who's only got 7 reviews at 4.7 stars because I mean, it just, the social proof is there, right? I mean, if we just look at something like as random as a room heater, right? I mean, compare the 3 reviews here. Like, which one are you going to choose? Are you going to go for the one that's $105 with 2 reviews? Are you going to go for the one that's $24 with, 4.5 stars at 6,700 reviews? I mean, you're probably going to pick that second one there, right? Most people are going to do that. And that's because it's a bestseller. It's got all that social proof in those reviews. So it's super important for you guys to be doing the same thing as well. Organic search is the last section. This is really important for long tail keywords. And what that means is if I type in something like let's say, braces for my child who's 8 years old, like something really specific like that. Ads may not show up for things like that. The maps may not show up for things like that. It really depends on the search. But organic is where you're really going to win in that area. So you want to make sure that you're optimizing your pages to be able to show up for searches like this, those super long tail keywords that are more about specific services. And we'll get more into that as well. But so a great way to look at this is there's a tool called Moz. It's not perfect, but it does give you a really good indicator of how well you're doing. So you can check your own website at Moz and look at, what's your score. It's very difficult to get 100%, but anything above like 85, 90, around like 85, 90 is really, really good and gives you a better shot at showing up in the front page of Google. But if you find that you're like running like the 25, 30%, that means you need to improve your organic ranking significantly to make sure you're actually showing up there in your website. So the last piece of this here is actually outside of Google. This is Facebook ads. So if you're not on Facebook ads, I would highly recommend getting involved in this. The reason why is because it allows you to be very specific in how you're targeting. This is an example of dental implants. And so what you're seeing here on that right side is a mobile ad for dental implants. And it's all about just specifically targeting the person who would be most likely to get a dental implant from you and sending them ads that talk exclusively about it. So we're not saying much about the dentistry. Everything we do here is focus on that one service. And so we create several campaigns around this. So at FireGang, we'll create like an implants campaign, an Invisalign campaign, a new patient special campaign, a 6-month smiles campaign, and like everything else for lots of different services and target them specifically so that, if I'm advertising Invisalign, I can target that towards women, maybe age 25 to 35, and really hone in on a specific type of market that is going to be most likely to need Invisalign. And that's going to make it significantly more likely that they're going to click on it, they're going to convert to it. And so that kind of specificity allows you to do it. And guys, guess what? There are very few dentists using Facebook ads right now. I would say that even if you have 10 different practices in a 5-mile radius of you, maybe one of them is on Facebook and really doing it right. So this is huge opportunity if you can get on Facebook to drive lots of traffic to your site. The next step is the website, right? So, okay, we did all those battles. We got our ads up. They look great. We're running Facebook. Our rankings are great. Okay, what's next? What next is the website, because you just did all that work and you got all these people to come to your site. You got all these new patients to check you out. Your web traffic skyrocketing. Great. And if that's only what you pay attention to, then you're going to be one of these dentists who says, well, I tried Google AdWords and it doesn't work for me. Really, it may not be that your AdWords were the problem. Maybe that your website's the problem. Every time somebody comes to your site, they're clicking that back button, they're leaving, and they're going and checking somebody else out. So what does our website need to do? What does it need to say? And how does it need to interact with that patient in order to be successful? So I'm going to give you a quick example. This is State of the Art Dental Group. This is a practice that is currently working with us. They've been a client of ours for a long time. This was an older site of theirs before we did the most recent renovation. And it was decent. It was okay. But it was missing a lot of things that we call conversion elements. And so conversion elements are these pieces of the site that convince a patient that they need to call you or they need to move forward in the process. There's a lot of important things that you need to include. So let's break that down really quick. This is their new website. This is the one that's currently live. If you Google State of the Art Dental Group, you can see it today. And you can see all these arrows are pointing to all the different conversion elements. So the first one there's got an award right on the homepage. So I, as a patient, immediately know, okay, well, they won something. Maybe I don't know what that is, but it feels good to me that they won something. Actually, the small text there is kind of hard to see, but it says voted 2015 best dentist in Rockville. That's impressive. Even if I don't know who voted, that still feels impressive. And if none of the other dentists in the area were voted best dentist, then that makes me want to go to him just for that reason. Next, we have this social proof, this differentiator bar. Same-day emergency dentistry, orthodontics, sedation, bilingual office, all things that make this practice unique. And there's a lot of things that are going to make your practice unique too, but you just need to list them and actually show them up on your site. Now on the right side, we just make it easy for someone to book. I know exactly what to do next. I can book an appointment. I can read reviews. I can go check out the office. It's all in one easy spot. And if we look at the bottom, we've got a 5-star review right on the homepage, right above the fold. It's the first thing I see when I go to the site is this, boom, 5 stars right from Google. And here's what this patient said. So all this is working together to get someone to want to actually book an appointment, not just kind of read the site. And then I want to take this one step further. So this is a dental implants page for a different client of ours, Timber Dental. And I want to explain what makes this page so good. First is what you see there on the left side, dental implants in Portland, what are dental implants, and schedule a free implant consultation today. The number one thing that dentists make as a mistake with their site is putting too much information about what a dental implant is, and this goes for every service, what Invisalign is, what all these specific services is and how they work. If you notice, look how little we put for what are dental implants. We just have 2 small paragraphs about the specifics of it. The rest of this is saying how Timber Dental does implants, what technology do they use, what training do they have. And this is just a small shot of the page. The rest of this actually is a video of the dentist talking about how he does dental implants and what his process is. And there's a lot more information on that. So the key here is we're not talking about what an implant is. I can find that information if I go to WebMD. But what we do for our clients is make sure that we're showcasing what makes them different, how they specifically do implants. So if I'm shopping around for implants, if I go to all these different websites, maybe 4 websites I go to all say the exact same thing. They just tell me that an implant is a biocompatible artificial tooth root that's anchored inside the jaw, yada, yada, yada. That's great. But I go to these guys and I actually see what they're going to do for me. Additionally, I can see the dentist on the right side of the screen there. I see their faces. I can schedule my visit now, and I can immediately put my information in. So there's all these different components that are really working together here. So what does every patient need to see on your site before they're going to move forward? If you have awards, put them on there. If you have financing options, add them. How will you perform the specific services? We just covered that. So we need to put all these things in place. Also, open late, open weekends. Do you have any special offers? What are your differentiators? We add that differentiator bar right to the website. Is it easy to book? Do I know what to do next? Do I have pictures of information of the dentist? I need all these things before I'm going to move forward. If you're missing any of these components from your site, it's likely that that could be a very large reason why you're not seeing new patients right now. This is breakdown by the numbers, year-over-year comparison. I'm comparing those 2 sites from just say the Our Dental Group, the first one that we looked at, and the second one that was improved with conversion elements. We see nearly a quadruple increase in conversion rate, right? From comparing those 2 sites, the gray bar to the orange bar. And so what is that going to do for the bottom line? Well, let's look at the left side here. And this is how I want to combat this idea that Google AdWords doesn't work for you. So we have low conversion versus improved conversion. If you spend $2,000, the same amount of ad spend in both places, we have cost per click of $10, let's say, which means if we do the math, that's 200 visitors to the site. We don't change the ads at all. All we change is the website. We go from a 2% conversion rate to a 6% conversion rate on the site because we improved it with these conversion elements, which changes our number of phone calls from 4 to 12 in that month. And then we take this one step further and we say, well, maybe we improve our phones, we go through some training, and our staff is able to convert better. And they're, instead of converting 4 in 10 calls, they're now converting 6 in 10 calls. And all of a sudden, we've gone from 1.6 new patients per month to 7.2 patients per month from Google AdWords or from Facebook without changing our ad spend, simply because we got better at what we were doing. So for everyone who says that Google AdWords doesn't work for you, which is about half the dentists I speak with, it could just be that your website is broken. And I would say a majority of the time, this is the case. Google AdWords, if the way it works is you're only going to spend money if you're getting clicks. If people are actually clicking on your ads, because it is like, it's called pay-per-click, right? So if you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars, it suggests that people are clicking on your ads, they are going to your site, but when they get there, they're not finding what they need, and they're clicking back and they're not moving forward. So I would definitely take a deeper look at your website and try to understand, well, maybe my website company is not up to par. Maybe my copy's not good enough. Maybe I'm not telling these patients why I'm different than the guy down the street. And that likely will be the biggest difference here. So again, like I said at the end, I'll show you how we can talk one-on-one about that. If you do want personalized recommendations, I'd be happy to check out your website and just see, you know, is this the break? Is this what's causing the issues that you're experiencing with your new patient flow? But let's move on from that. Let's say your website is kick-ass and doing great. What's the last thing that's going to happen here? Well, of course, they're going to call your practice. So how do we maximize the number of conversions there? The number one thing is to track it. Number one, this is an absolute must. You cannot skimp on this. You have to be tracking this, and it is not enough to ask patients. It's not enough to just ask them, where did you see us? How did you hear about us? Because this is typically not accurate. Now, the reason why, a simple illustration is that maybe you don't understand this either too, is that a lot of patients don't know the difference between a Google AdWord ad and just an organic listing. They don't see the ad there. They don't know what the difference is. And they also may say it wrong. They might, just say, hey, well, I saw an ad for you guys on Google, when really they clicked through organically. Or maybe a friend referred them and they still Googled you. So they told you that it was a referral, but really they went through this exact same journey. It just happened that they they got it from their friend. And so when you're tracking this with actual software, you'd be able to see, okay, well, it was a referral, but they also went to Google, clicked on my ad, went to my site, checked out these 5 pages, and then they checked out my reviews, and they went to Yelp, and then they called me. And if you're able to track that, then you can better understand how these people are interacting with this. So we need to know who's coming to your website, where are they coming from, what source, Facebook, Google, etc. Did they stay? Did they leave? Do they interact with it? And then, of course, are your calls being answered? How many of them are going to voicemail? How many of them are actually getting picked up? And are they being converted? What is your staff saying on the phone? Are the callers compelled to come in? We had a recent client say that they were missing almost half of the calls and just had no idea. They thought they were answering all of them, and they were losing a ton of patience on it. And so this missing calls was inclusive of simply not answering the phone, letting people go to voicemail. These were after hours calls that were not picked up. And then this also includes all the opportunities that they did answer on the phone but did not convert. And this makes a huge difference, right? Because if you're only able to convert, let's say 4 out of 10 patients on the phone that are good opportunities, you're leaving a ton of money on the table, and you need to improve this. And so one key is to use a dashboard. This is the exact dashboard that we at FireGang implement for all of our clients. And so the way it works is you can see on the left side all the PPCs and the one organic. This is where they came from. What we do further is we actually listen to every single call. So you see on the right side of the screen all those play buttons. Our team will go through and listen to all these calls and flag them as a new patient opportunity. Was it an existing patient? Was it just someone trying to sell you something? And just basically help you understand how many patients each month were opportunities and how are those calls handled. So this is something you can do too. I mean, you can pick up software. This is called CallRail. You can integrate it very easily with your system and go through this and listen to all your staff calls and just understand who's struggling, who needs more help, who needs to be trained, how are these being handled. And you get a lot of insight by doing this. I know not everybody has a time for this, and that's why companies like FireGang exist, because we can take this off your plate. But regardless, you do need to be tracking these at the very least, even if you're not listening to them, so you can at least understand where these are coming from and get a better idea of the ROI of your efforts. If you're putting in $2,000 a month in a PPC, you need to know how many calls are coming from it and be able to track it better than simply asking your patients. So like I said, if you want to learn more, I'm happy to dive into this with you. If you need a personalized recommendation, I'm happy to do that. So what you can do next, if you're at this computer watching your webinar, you've heard how this works, you know that using these strategies and these keys, competing in today's environment, going forward, you understand that these are the keys. This is the buying cycle. This is the journey that these patients are going on. And you need to make sure that you're giving them the right information at the right time. Your website's saying the right things. Your ads are differentiated. Your calls are being answered, and they're being answered correctly. So if you're missing that clear plan of action, you really want something that's custom tailored to your unique situation to make it easier for you. I'm happy to help you out. Here's what I have for you. I put together a one-on-one strategy call. We'll go through your goals. We'll help understand what's in the way, check out on your roadblocks, create a clear plan of action to bridge a new patient gap. This is totally free. I do, some of these, I do probably 10 of these each week. And it fills up really fast. My calendar it can only be so full. So I definitely encourage you to get on this, especially if you want it soon. How to get this, open up your email. We're going to send you an email that's going to say claim your bonuses. And in there's going to be a link to schedule your call. You can also visit firegang.com /call and you can schedule it there. But basically what you're going to see is this. It's going to have a calendar that specifically goes towards, it's specifically going to book right on my calendar. So you'll be able to talk to me. And we'll spend just half an hour going through your situation, talking about this new patient journey, how it applies to your practice. I'll check out your website. I'll look at what you're doing or what your website's saying, how patients are interacting with it, and let you know, is that where the break is? We can talk about your ads. We can talk about your Moz score, your SEO, and see, are you ranking well? What could you be doing to improve that? We can also look at your phones and see, how are you training your staff? Are you training your staff? We can look at some resources for how you guys can improve that. So definitely encourage you to schedule a call. If you have any other follow-up questions, though, feel free to email me at marketing@firegang.com. If you want to do that. If you're also interested at this point with working with FireGang, you want to know how you could become a client or any of our products and services, feel free to email me at marketing@firegang.com. You can also just schedule a call as well. firegang.com/call. We can go over all the details of that as well. If anybody has any questions, feel free to enter them in the Q&A box. I've got a couple minutes here. Happy to help you out right now if you do have anything. Just open up that Q&A box and feel free to type in a question. So, but other than that, if anybody has any questions, we'll sign off here. But feel free to drop a question in. But yeah, like I said, so firegang.com/call. I'll be happy to help you guys out there. Somebody asked, Kenneth, can I receive a copy of this webinar for later viewing? Yeah, happy to send it to you. Everybody on the webinar will get a copy of this recording, and feel free to check it out and use it as much as you need going forward. Thanks, Kenneth. Yeah. Cool. Does anybody have anything else? Otherwise, we'll come to a close here. Cool, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful. I'm always open to feedback. So if there's anything else you want me to cover, or any specific topics, or you want me to dive deeper into any of this journey, any of the pieces, feel free to email me again at marketing@firing.com, and I'll just take that into account. We'll probably do more stuff like this each next month. We have another training coming up specifically on Facebook ads, and then we have another training coming up that's going to be specifically on phone calls. So feel free to, and I definitely encourage you to join in on that. Yeah, that's all I got, guys. So thanks for coming out. We'll close up here, and yeah, if you want that personalized recommendation, head over to firing.com/call, and I'll be happy to chat with you. But otherwise, have a great night. Thanks for coming, and we will see you next time.